What's up, guys? Paul Glasgow here, Legally Armed America. I've got a totally different setup here today, guys. It's been a little while since we had a live stream, especially since all this craziness has begun. And of course, I'm going to be getting used to all the bells and whistles that we have going on here tonight. Again, new stuff, new toys, in a good way. So I don't think any of this is a bad thing. But it's going to take me some getting used to make sure that, in fact, my garbage can is poking me in the knee down here. That's something I wasn't anticipating. But what we're going to be doing tonight, we're going strictly to YouTube. We have a mechanism set up to where we're going to be able to also bring our stream to the Facebook crew out there also. We've got people on Facebook that follow us. But nevertheless, YouTube, you're my first family, so we're coming here first before we iron out all the bugs on the Facebook side. Speaking of that, if you don't follow me already, we got some neat new little bells and whistles. If you don't follow me, go to Legally Armed America on Facebook as well. Before we get started, if you drink, grab you a cold one. Don't know how long we're going to be on here tonight. Hopefully we can get a full hour in. If I run out of stuff to tell you guys and it's getting old, then I won't bore you to death. A couple of quick little things. If you guys don't know this, I am in Louisiana, South Louisiana, specifically Lake Charles, Louisiana. And I'm actually, let me give you some more of this is our Twitter, if you guys don't already follow me on Twitter. Real quick, Twitter's brutal. If you can't handle rough language and extreme brutal honesty, don't follow me on Twitter. Just don't do it. You'll probably lose some respect for me. Different social media platforms have different purposes. YouTube being the video where you try to put your things out there and be somewhat professional. Facebook where it's more friendly related. Instagram where it might be speaking of Instagram where it's maybe like picture oriented, where you look good and you look tough shooting a gun and all that kind of stuff. Twitter is no holds barred. Twitter is downright brutal, and I absolutely love it. I will lay in bed at night and just comment on other people's posts and just let them have it. So I can be, again, downright brutal on that. But again, going back to what I was starting to say. First of all, if you guys don't mind, I would like to let's see, make sure. Oh, somebody says they can't hear me. Let me crank the mic up a little bit. I know that didn't help. Let's see here. Let me try to get some mic levels out of this for you guys. Sorry about that. Let me grab this mic right here, and this should do the trick. I apologize, I did not see that sooner. All right, how's that? Can you guys give me a indication of whether or not that improved on the audio side? Again, I'll wait to get a comment from you all. If somebody could just say yes. Lots of echo. Is that now after I put the new mic? Because it shouldn't have. Not with the barely and turned all my volume up. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. You should be able to hear me just fine. That is wide open. Okay. Okay, let me give you guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to try my best to do a quick little roll call here. There's a lot of you guys in the room right now, so bear with me for a second. James Parrott, World Traveler, 9mm mic. And sometimes I can't read some of these words because it's just, let's see, Infinity 01, Matt Lieber, Colt Wilson, Daniel Waters, Raymond L. What's up? Thunderwolf, James Parrott, World Traveler, Mike File, I think, Mark M, Michael Nix, Ivor 92975, Bro Thibodeau, Sean Graves, Mike C, Will Marshall, I'll get back to you guys here in a little bit. All right, obviously we're in the middle of some weird stuff right now, okay? The coronavirus and all that good stuff. Hopefully you guys are taking care of your family. If I know most of you guys, you absolutely are, so I'm not really worried about that. I think your families are probably doing just fine and probably very safe and happy to have you looking after them. I've not been laying low. I've just been taking care of my business. I mean, I've had some people. I actually had a guy in the grocery store today. Two guys follow me, not follow me, but who follow my stuff. And each one of them kind of asked me the same thing. Hey man, are you going to be doing anything on YouTube again? I'm like, yeah, definitely. I've not stepped away from this, and I'm not doing this. It's just that there's so much craziness going on. I'm not the type to overreact, and I always stay kind of even keel. That's something I've just been blessed with, that I don't get really excitable. Again, thank God for that. But at the same time, when you're witnessing everybody else losing their freaking minds, you get to a certain point where you're like, am I missing something? Is there something that I should be reacting more aggressively on? Should I be freaking out? So it's hard for me sometimes to sometimes I just have to step back and go, all right, let me take all this in and see if I'm processing it the right way. And guess what? I'm processing it the right way. I still believe that too many people are overreacting. I do believe that you don't have to be from one extreme to the other. You don't have to be a person that completely overreacts and is digging a 50-foot bunker underground, waiting for the sky to fall. And on the other hand, you don't have to be the person that's really aloof and you're going to parties and hangouts with 250 people in it, kissing hands, swapping spit, and all that kind of stuff. We can be in the middle. We can be level-headed about this, while at the same time being cautious and watching out for our families. I feel like that's where I'm at, and I'm happy to be there. A very weird thing last night, eerie thing, I guess you should say, in the state of Louisiana. For those of you that don't know, the governor that we have down here passed a stay-at-home order that went into effect at 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon. And I did another live stream on another little program that I work on, and finished up, I don't know, probably about 11:10 or 11:15. And when I did, I walked outside for a second. And where I live on a relatively busy road. And I want to show you this video. This is another cool thing that I can do now with this new software that I have. I can actually show you guys video and pictures. So I want to show you this. This is at 11:14, obviously, last night. This is a super busy road under normal circumstances. Note that car to the right with the headlights on. I didn't notice it earlier whenever I was videoing this. But look, there's no one on this street. It is dead. There's one car down this way down there, but you see they just turned off. So there's nobody on the road now except this person. Again, I didn't see that person. So I walk out into the middle of the road, and at this point, I still don't know that I had noticed them sitting there.
And there's a car right there.
But nevertheless, they are sitting right there, and they probably see me walking out on the road, wondering what the hell I'm doing. So, and then I think at some point, right around here, I realized, of course, there was a car coming from that direction finally. And when I swung back around and looked, there was no one coming from the car itself that was parked over there to the side. They at that point, I think they were probably watching me standing in the middle of the road, and then they ended up leaving and going the opposite direction. Kind of makes you wonder, because they were already sitting there. That side road, that is a side road, and it's not a busy road. So it makes me wonder what that person was actually doing, to be honest with you, right there. I'm just not really sure. I wonder if I didn't deter them from coming down that way when they saw some wacko standing out in the middle of a relatively busy road under normal circumstances. But that's this really eerie feeling. Again, guys, this is a road that is typically very, very busy at night. And to see it that dead is just incredible to me. I mean, I've never, ever seen this. The last time I saw this road this dead was when Hurricane Rita hit. And, of course, there were no lights. This is weird because we have street lights on. But Hurricane Rita, there was no power in this neighborhood. And so everything was just black at night. you had reason to believe why nobody was there.
As far as I can
But
see, I do
again, in
not
this
see
case,
headlights.
it's just very, very weird. Just like I said, it's weird
It's 4 down.
experiences.
Nelson
Everybody's
Road,
having
and there's
them.
a car right there.
But there's a lot of. I will say this before we get into more of the meat and details about what's happening. There are some funny things. I hope you guys can hear this. I have not tested to see if I play a video, if you guys can hear the audio. If you guys have not seen this, this has cracked me up in the last week. I want you to see this video real quick. I laugh at this every time I look at this and see it. It makes me laugh.
Because of coronavirus, you are going to be quarantined, but you have a choice. Do you A, quarantine with your wife and child, or B?
B.
All right, you got to admit that's funny. I hope you guys got the audio on that. I'm not testing the audio in here to see if it's coming through. Hopefully that played through, because if it didn't, you missed it. I'll find a way to post that if it didn't. It just cracks me up. This dude doesn't even care what option B is. He's ready for option B. So anyway, guys, what weird stuff we have going on. Those of you that know me know that I don't subscribe to any of the hardcore conspiracy type theories and whatnot. I will say that if you do a little bit of research, and I'm not talking about dark web research or anything like that, I mean just general research into the origin of COVID-19, it didn't come from a bat. Come on, guys. The equivalent to our CDC that we have in Atlanta is in Wuhan, China. That CDC facility in Wuhan, China is a level 4. Again, this is stuff that is easy to find. It's not, again, I didn't find this on the dark web. This is like a Washington Post, or, you can connect the dots when you use various information from all the, mainstream media sites out there. But it's a level 4 CDC type site, which is for biological warfare. Me and some friends have talked about it, and we as a group are all in agreement that this is something that I don't think, and this is just my opinion, guys. I have no reason, there's no research that told me this. It's just what I think. I don't think the Chinese released this on purpose. I think it got out. I think that this got way out of hand for them. I think whenever they realized it, obviously they tried to do damage control. There are scientists that you never heard of, again, that tried blowing whistles. There was an older video when this first came out and started snowballing in China, where this one guy walked into the Chinese hospital and he filmed anywhere from 8 to 9 dead bodies in an ambulance outside, went inside and filmed 2 or 3 more inside. And at that time, China was only saying they had 10 deaths. And this guy walked in and filmed as many as 11. All in one sitting, like all within 20 feet of each other. And then his video he clips over to where he's at his house, and the authorities are trying to beat his door down because they saw him live streaming to Facebook or wherever he was live streaming to. And, we're telling him that they needed to check his temperature and they needed to see if he was showing any symptoms. And needless to say, the guy was never heard from again either. So, I mean, China can't be trusted. Again, I do not believe that I do think they would try to limit some of their own population, and maybe that's what they were doing. Maybe this was not necessarily something from a biological standpoint, from a warfare standpoint, that they were trying to put out. It's very possible they were trying to control their own population. I mean, they're overcrowded over there. That's why they have the restrictions on births and things like that. All speculation on my part. No facts whatsoever to back that up. Again, I'm just telling you guys how I feel. But if you look at how this virus operates, the way it attacks the lungs, and the way the symptoms, you can be asymptomatic and still obviously be a very healthy carrier of this virus. You can carry this virus from what they've said as many as 14 days before you even start showing any real symptoms. And of course, the symptoms can be just upper respiratory type issues. So in many cases, people may not have known what they had. Like a really healthy person could have still seemed relatively healthy and carried that. So you can figure that this virus could very possibly have been carried by an extremely healthy person for as much as 14 days, with that person contaminating other people at that same CDC facility. In other words, if there was an area where that they had that virus contained to, where they were working on it, and one person got it and didn't know that he had it, he could have very easily, outside of that containment area, contaminated the whole facility, and then that whole facility contaminated everybody else. I mean, let's remember, not everybody dies that gets coronavirus. If that were the case, there would be hundreds of thousands of people already dead because hundreds of thousands of people have had it. So, again, people are not dropping dead because they have coronavirus. So that's the thing. I feel like this probably got out of control, got out of hand. And before it did, I mean, it's like a wildfire with a good wind behind it. I mean, holy crap, look what we started, So I do think that our government right now is really, really sickening me, both parties, to be honest with you. I'm going to open another beer up on that note because might be a little bit of a long thing here. Okay, our government right now, both parties, again, the one problem that I have with the Republicans, where their position on holding up the money to assist you and I and people out there, small businesses, the working people who are out of work right now. The one area where I fault the Republicans for stonewalling all of this is the stock options. Stock option buybacks, not stock options, stock buybacks are a bad thing. There should be no money put into any type of stimulus type bill that has stock buybacks in it. That's not something that should be a thing. I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to some corporate executive to buy his stock from him. So that's my knock against the Republicans. They should not be doing that. It's not right. It doesn't help the worker, the people who are kind of unprotected right now. And I know it's easy to sit back and say, because I'm a hardworking person. I'm a blue collar worker. It's easy sometimes to sit back and say, well, you should work a little bit harder and be doing a little bit better for yourself, and times like this wouldn't be rough. Guys, we don't know how long this is going to be. So if we've got people who are out of work, let's say the average family saved up a month and a half's worth of savings or whatever, paid up on their bills and whatnot, that money's going to go away pretty fast, especially if there's no additional monies coming in. Now, the good news is I don't see anybody getting their lights turned off. I don't see anybody that's going to have any kind of foreclosure on their homes, get kicked out of, evicted out of rental places. I don't think that any of that's going to happen. So we will have a certain level of protection. Now, let's remember, all those bills are not going to be forgiven. You'll still have to pay that at some point. It just may get pushed back a little bit. And that's great. That's awesome. I hope people are willing to do that and do help each other out. But there's people that are going to be really hurting, because you and I both know there's a lot of people in this country, and probably most people in this country are living payday to payday. And when you miss one paycheck, you're in a bind. Again, knowing that they won't be having to pay that mortgage or that rent right away, that's great. We still got to eat. People still got to put food on their tables. That's a big deal. And I'm not even talking about the people who are hoarding stuff right now. I just mean on a regular basis. If you got 4 kids, I don't even want to know what your food bill is. Not to mention pets. Pets, it costs money to feed your pets. So that's where my problem again is with the Republicans. The stock buyback is not an option I want to see rolled into one of these bills. That does not benefit the average everyday worker who's out of work right now and needs to be helped for however long this is going to take place. I usually don't make things Republican and Democrat because I consider myself a conservative person that leans libertarian. But let me tell you what, the Democrats have absolutely disgusted me in this case. The things that they are trying to sneak in to this House bill right now make me want to throw up on them. Let me repeat that. I want to throw up on Nancy Pelosi. The fact that they're trying to push through money for abortions. Now, remember, this bill we're talking about is relief money. This is relief money to help you, me, small businesses stay afloat so they don't go out of business forever. It's supposed to keep people from spending every penny out of their life savings, losing everything they've got. This is something that the clock is ticking on right now. So I'm not even talking about the virus and what it's doing and the money that needs to be put in different various places to assist the efforts to fight off, on the medical side of this. I'm speaking of just the average everyday person who needs money in their pocket or needs some assistance. And I say assistance, I'm not looking, I don't think it needs to be something where everybody says, screw all my bills. It needs to be enough to get you by. Because remember, we're paying for this through our taxes. I mean, it's easy to say, oh, it's the government's money. No, it's your money. They're playing games with your money. Nancy Pelosi is playing games, trying to give some of your money, trying to get the government to give you back some of your money so that she can funnel this off into abortion projects, a whole bunch of climate change projects, everything from making the airlines reduce emissions by, I think, 2025 or something like that to a certain level. Why is that in a coronavirus relief bill? They're wanting to bail out the post office. Why are we giving money to the post office for a coronavirus relief bill? They're wanting to bail out, get this, they're wanting to bail out Amtrak. Amtrak can't sell a hamburger without it costing them like $400. Did you guys know that? Amtrak has never made money. Amtrak is a government-run, if you don't know about it, Amtrak is a government-run railroad company. That's the people mover that, and mostly the East Coast between like Washington, D.C. and New York, that's where that train really, really, really is popular. Down here, we see them maybe once a month, I'll see an Amtrak train. But Amtrak has never in the history of Amtrak made any money. It's always lost. And when I tell you it's lost money, it's not a matter of taking your books and looking at it and go, well, I wonder if we lost money this year. No, baby, it's losing a lot of money. We're talking about millions of dollars it loses every single year. Whenever they sell a hamburger for $4 or $5, if you look at the fuel for the trains, the payroll dollars, the cost to make that burger, pile everything in and allocate it towards each thing that you're selling to try to recover some kind of income or whatever, the burger's essentially costing us, the tax-paying people of America, it's costing us about $300 or $400 per hamburger because they're losing that much money. So the only way they could break even on hamburgers if they sold them for $300 or $400 per hamburger, if that makes it simpler. Pitifully run. It's typical government run. It's, nobody runs things like the private sector. They botch everything. Again, the post office, they're losing money. It's like holes in the bottom of a boat. And then Amtrak. So they want to bail Amtrak and the post office out. Not to mention all the other disgusting things that they're wanting to do with this money that all have nothing to do with relief for the people. Not one of those things that I've read through in this bill have anything to do with assisting the American people in any kind of way. Not one thing. Now, there are other ways that they go into it where they're trying to funnel money to the people, but they're wanting to pay for a bunch of programs that don't need to be paid for. Oh, get this. I want to say $10 million towards to revitalize the Obama phone program. Remember the Obama phone program? Remember the people that we see at the bus stop with their brand spanking new iPhones? The Obama phones that the government paid for their phone, paid for their internet service, paid for their phone bill monthly. We know what phone bills cost, so don't even try to tell me that's not a big deal. Well, they have that Obama phone program where I want to get my Obama phone. That lady that was on the video. There's $10 million. I believe it's $10 million, at least $10 million. They're trying to push through in this coronavirus relief bill to make sure that we continue to give free iPhones and free Android phones to whoever wants them out there who's not working. Again, part of a coronavirus relief bill. It's disgusting to me, guys. It's so disgusting to me to see this kind of stuff, because these are the kind of things that makes the average voter distrust every single person in Washington, D.C. Anytime, and you guys have heard me say it before, anytime somebody moves on from that local political level, like small-time politicians, and moves on to that state level, once they get to that state level, I start losing trust in them. Once they've gone on beyond that state level, they're scumbags. Because I don't care how good you are, once you get to Washington, D.C., they pollute you and they change you, and you become just like all of them. We have some of the worst people in the world running our country, and I'm not saying that lightly. Some of the most disgusting, despicable people are in charge of calling the shots for this country, and they're all proving it right now by the things that they're trying to do, that they're holding up these dollars to help hardworking Americans that are out of work right now and hurting. Both parties are holding this up. You know why? Because they don't care about you and I. They simply don't care about us. They've got enough money. They've got theirs. They're taken care of. They don't care about you. If they really cared about you, you would have had checks in the mail last week. Here we are going into this thing almost 2 weeks into it of relative shutdown, where different communities are shutting down, and they've still not released money because they don't care. They simply don't care about you and I. This should be proof of that. I would say vote them out, but who are you going to vote in? It's nothing but a bunch of corrupt politicians over there. So, with us being, of course, a gun-related show, that brings me to the gun stuff. Be careful. They are, let's see, the mayor of Champaign, Illinois. If you guys had a chance to see my latest video from last week, I believe, Champaign, Illinois she was one of the first in the country to write an executive order that said that if she deemed it necessary, that she could halt the sale of firearms and ammunition. After that, a whole bunch of mayors decided to do it. Actually, down here in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is the armpit of Louisiana. Don't let anybody have you think anything otherwise. New Orleans is one of the most corrupt cities in the world. And, it's no different now than it ever has been. Totally corrupt. If you'll remember, our Mayor Ralph Nagin of New Orleans, he wound up in jail after Hurricane Katrina because he was embezzling so much money from the government. It doesn't change. It's just the name, Mayor so-and-so. It's always a different name but the same corruption. And that the mayor in New Orleans is trying to do the same thing now. Now, I've said before that the mayor that we have down here in southwest Louisiana, Lake Charles more specifically, he's not crazy enough to do something like that because he realizes where he is. He will get voted out and bounced on his bald head. I mean, he's just not going to be, we won't allow him to do that. He can't get away with it. But in many of your other areas, you got a lot of crazy stuff going on. Some places are deeming now with shutdowns, like the state of Louisiana is in a state of shutdown. I think Houston just announced it today, where I want to make this really clear. It's not a law that things are shut down. Understand that. You can still go do things if you want to. Martial law would be unconstitutional, of course, but it would be a law instituted at that point. These stay-at-home orders are simply an order. What it really is, it's a really official suggestion. I mean, that's honestly what a stay-at-home order is. It's a really official suggestion. They are firmly suggesting that you don't go out and do anything. Go out and do something. I don't care. I'd rather you not contaminate anybody because I do feel like this is a highly contagious virus out there. But if you're being reasonable and responsible about it, like most gun owners are, right? I mean, we know how to be responsible. We are the poster children of being responsible. So if you need to go out, go out. Again, just don't run the risk of harming your family, contaminating your family, or anybody else for that matter. Again, that's common courtesy and respect for your fellow man. But as far as do I have to stay home? No, you don't have to. It's just, again, sometimes in times like this, we have so many stupid people in this world, and especially this country. Sometimes you got to tell them what to do. Because if you leave it up to them, they're going to be pulling the things that you've seen in the beach parties down in Florida, where the young kids are out there partying, hundreds and thousands of them on the beach at the same time. That's what we need to stay away from. So again, don't let anybody infringe upon your rights. You have the right to move about however you need to. Again, just be smart about it. I mean, just be smart about it. That's all we can do. I'm not going to go through all the ways to protect yourselves and your family. You've heard. Now, the thing that I do want to be careful of, as we continue to heighten, I guess you could say, I don't want to say heighten awareness because we're all aware, but as we start to really kind of clamp down on movement by having these stay-at-home orders, the people who are, and I don't mean this to be ugly, I don't know any better words to use to get my point across, but some people who are weak-minded, and again, that's not a knock. I mean, sometimes I use that phrase facetiously, and I don't mean that facetiously here. There are simply weak-minded people in this world. There are people that are very easily panicked in this world. What I worry about is the person who has not taken this seriously, and then all of a sudden it starts to really weigh on them what's going on, and they snap. That's what concerns me. That is probably my biggest concern, is the people who will have that paradigm shift where all of a sudden it's going to wham, wow, this is bad. This is bad. I don't have enough food. I don't have enough toilet paper. That's what is concerning to me, because I feel like that's the kind of people that are emotionally not prepared to handle something like this. And typically those are the ones that you're going to have the biggest issues with, something going sideways with them fast. So if you have neighbors like that you feel like can be unstable, or maybe easily triggered, if you will, that's probably the ones you want to watch out for. And I'm not saying surveil them. I'm just saying keep an eye out, head on a swivel kind of thing. I feel like that if with these stay-at-home orders that we have right now, I don't think that they are enough to full-on panic the general public. I don't think that's the case right now. If anything goes to that next level, that's where you got to watch out. Because as soon as you force people to stay home, again, we're under the stay-at-home order right now, which is merely a suggestion. But if we force people to stay home, and some of these people have not, quote, hoarded and are not prepared, with you not knowing how far out this could last, that could send people into an immediate panic, because they're going to think, I'm going to starve to death in my own home. I mean, let's look at it like this. When you've got a natural disaster, okay, and I'm going to use Hurricane Rita as an example, because I feel like right now this is not devastating my area where I'm at, because we handled Hurricane Rita, I don't know what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, really, really well. It devastated our area. People were out of power for 2.5, 3 weeks, but we handled it very well. So I feel like we're handling this pretty well. But with the hurricane, every day you saw progress. In other words, the worst time was when the hurricane happened. In other words, it peaked. That was the peak. The worst possible time was when the hurricane was actually going through. So everything after that was on the downhill curve. Right now, we haven't even peaked yet. So we don't know where the peak is. We don't know if people will stop getting infected and we'll start to see those numbers go down. What I mean by the peak is we're still seeing the number of infected climb. We haven't seen fewer people tomorrow get infected than what we saw today. At this point, tomorrow's numbers are always higher than today's numbers. Now, I know it's because a lot of it has to do with we're also testing more people. I understand that and I get that. I totally agree with that. But I still don't feel like we're over that hump where now we're on the downhill side. So as long as we don't know where that peak is, we absolutely don't know where the end of it is, where we're out of the woods. And again, going back using the hurricane reference, with the hurricane reference, every day you saw some kind of progress. Like if it came through and just destroyed trees and knocked them all through the roads and blew homes into roads and all that. Well, guess what? Today you go out and notice, oh, well, that road is passable now. That road has been cleared. The next day over, you see, all right, well, this block over here has power now. They got electricity back. You start seeing things returning to normal, and you see that, and it's little signs of relief as you go on. With this virus, you don't see that. It's not like that. You can't walk around your neighborhood and see signs of progress. You don't see anything. Unless somebody in your neighborhood had it and they died or they recovered, you can't physically see or witness anything going on other than what you see on the news. And if we're relying on the news, as dishonest and as sensational as they are, we're in bad shape because that's where we're getting all of our information about this. There's no other reliable source. So you kind of have to take that and filter through what the news is spoon feeding you. So again, that's what worries me is that some of these people that are just not stable, it's going to hit them after a few weeks of staying home. A little bit less money in their bank account, a little bit less money in their bank account, a little bit less money in their bank account. Every day there's less and less and less, and there's none coming in, but there's money going out. A little bit less food, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you hear about a robbery across town, because I want to make this very clear. I'm not justifying in any way robbing somebody. But when a dad has to watch his kids, and again, I'm not justifying that because there are things that the dad should have done before his kids got hungry. But when a father has to watch his children hungry, stomachs growling at night, got nothing for them, got no money, now there's no food in the stores, he's going to find a way to try to feed his kids. So that's what I'm concerned with. Again, certainly not justifying it, because if he comes into my house to try to steal my food, it's not going to be a good time for him. His kids are going to still be hungry. I can promise you that. He's not bringing any food home to them tonight. But that's going to happen, guys. That's what I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with as things start to really settle in and get as bad as they're going to get. We don't know how bad that is. That's where you're going to probably start to see more and more things that probably go sideways on you. And again, it's those unstable people that's going to happen to first. It's really weird. There are certain people that during this time right now, friends of mine, acquaintances that I've always had contact with over the years and always knew that's the one right there. That's a guy I can rely on. And as soon as all this stuff started getting kind of weird, I reached out to a few of them through text messages and whatever and just let them know, hey man, if you need something, you know where I'm at. Just letting them know I got your back, so I hope you got mine. And I'm not saying some apocalypse and some crazy World War III scenario. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about if I run out of something before they do, if they need ammo and they don't have sufficient ammo, whatever. It may be walkie-talkies. You know what I mean? It could be bottled water, toilet paper. I think you got to identify people without trying to make it sound like you're a nutbag, but you got to just kind of let them know, kind of a hint and a fist bump. Of course, right now I think we're shoulder bumping, elbow bumping, but you got to let them know, I'm here if you need something. Hopefully you're there for me. And in many cases, those people will be. But those are the people to seek out. And look, if there's anybody that's watching this right now who, if you are a little bit unstable, seek those people out still, as far as the people in the middle. You don't want the person who's overreacting and going nuts and that's, super duper over prepping right now. I don't want that guy on my side, because that's the kind of people that are they've gone too far. But I also don't want the people who's blowing this off and they're partying at the beach. I want the guy right in the middle. That's the guy that I'm looking for. And that's who I think everybody ought to seek out. Not to mooch from them, not to take from them, but to make sure that you got somebody. You know what I mean? I'm watching you and your family. Hopefully you'll do the same if I have to step out or whatever. But again, guys, this is so different. Again, it's nothing like a natural disaster. The way this is going to break down and play out is not going to be like a natural disaster. We're not going to see the physical signs of the end in sight. Oh, okay, well, we'll be going back to work in 2 weeks. I saw earlier today, I think the White House made some comments that they're expecting some sense of normalcy to return by Easter. When is Easter? I mean, isn't that like... That is April the 12th. That is 1, 2. That's 2.5 weeks away. Come on, guys. There's not going to be a sense of normalcy in 2.5 weeks. I'm no expert, but I'm not stupid either. 2.5 weeks, really? There's still cities and states that have not had shutdown or stay home orders yet. Wait, look, today's Tuesday. By Friday, I will bet you that over half of the country is on some kind of a state of either stay at home or general lockdown. I think California is trying to forbid people from leaving their houses. Louisiana just has a stay-at-home order where they're asking you to, but I believe it's California. They're telling people you cannot come out. Again, there's really no legal repercussions unless they administer some kind of martial law. But nevertheless, I mean, things like that will happen. This hasn't even worsened yet. Again, guys, we haven't even gotten to that peak yet. For anybody out there to say that April the 13th, 2.5 weeks away, we're going to be doing better, to me, that's extremely irresponsible because we don't know that. We have not crested yet. We have not peaked. We have not stopped going uphill and started going back downhill again. That's not happened yet. So how in the world could you quantify that and qualify that in any kind of way other than it being just some blind hope that you're throwing out there to try to make people feel better about themselves? I get it if that's what you're doing. But a person like me, you can't make me feel better or worse based on hope and feelings. That's not how I function. You can't give me good or bad opinions to change the way I feel. You can give me good or bad news and facts to change the way I feel. But you can't tell me what you think and change the way I feel. Does that make sense? So when you tell me that you think things will be better by April 13th, I'm thinking, why? Can you tell me why? Because if you're just going to sit back there and tell me based on hope, I think things will be better by Easter. It doesn't mean anything to me. I know you don't know this. You know what I mean? So anyway, guys, I think I know a lot of you. I read a lot of your comments, and believe it or not, I mean, I'm watching them scroll right now. You guys are super duper active right now, and thank y'all for doing that. I appreciate that because it's fun for me. I will tell y'all what I do. Those of you that are new to the channel, in many cases, if you go back and you try to read, look at these live streams after they've already run through and they're not live anymore, you can select live chat as you watch the video, and the frequency of the comments that you guys are actually distributing right now, you can read them in the order and where they came in the video. And I do that. I will sit through, I turn the volume down because I don't want to have to listen to myself all over again after I've spoken for an hour, but I'll read through you guys' comments, and it's very entertaining to me and interesting to me. And there's a lot of times I'll see it and I'll go, oh man. I mean, sometimes I wish I had somebody in here with me that could read through the comments as they're being put up there and like print some out or give them to me or point one out to me and say, hey, you need to look at this one. This is a good comment, because I really get a lot of interest out of that. So again, I appreciate you guys doing that. But I mean, I read a lot of y'all's comments, so I understand where many of you guys are coming from. I think you're just like me. I think you guys are just like me, prepared, not overly prepared, but not underprepared. I think you're level-headed, most of you, and I think you will take care of yourself and your family the way you have to. And so, I mean, that gives me some comfort knowing that there's a lot of people out there that are going to be just fine. Unfortunately, we've all got friends and family that will not be. We've got people who are going to lose it. I mean, some people are going to go stir crazy. Let me explain this. We live down here. Again, I'm in South Louisiana. So I will say this. We have been very blessed in the last week with awesome weather. I mean, awesome. A little bit of cloud cover here and there. Maybe the occasional drizzle on some kind of weird days when we had 0% chance of rain and we still got kind of a weird mist. But other than that, beautiful blue skies, sunshine, awesome weather. Temperatures in the 70s, maybe low 80s. I mean, this is beautiful, unbelievable springtime weather. Thank God for that, because there's some people that are holed up north where the temperatures are still a little bit cold and somewhat wet and snowy. Kids can't get outside. I cannot imagine those people going stir crazy having to do that. That has got to be rough. But talking about some of the gun stuff, the state of Louisiana was good enough to deem firearms stores and suppliers as essential. You know, we have these weird rules going on where businesses and people, employees, some are essential, some are non-essential. My feeling is if they're non-essential, why do they work there in the first place? I mean, to me, everybody should be essential. If you need them, if you have a job for them, you know, they should all be essential. Every time you hear about the furloughs and whatnot, shutdowns for the government, and they say only non-essential personnel should be showing up. Me as a taxpayer, I'm thinking, isn't that the people that should only be showing up every single other day? Why do we have non-essential government workers? We don't, you know, why, if they're not essential, we shouldn't have them. We don't need that job. Get rid of it. But we're seeing that right now where they're saying essential and non-essential workers. But some states are going to have a little bit more strict than that, where the gun companies are not going to be welcome to be open. Again, we're fortunate enough right now to have that here in Louisiana. Thank God for that. I actually just went today and I've been wanting this for my show anyway, but I felt like it was a good prepper type gun. I got this today, guys. This is pretty neat. This is a Ruger Precision 22 Magnum. Pretty cool little gun right here. Threaded barrel for a suppressor. Of course, it's bolt action. You can adjust the throw to more of a short stroke throw. Got it mounted with a loophole optic on it or scope on it. But 15 round magazine. Adjustable stock, of course. Yeah. I'm going to take this thing out tomorrow. I may adjustable trigger, the old Ruger adjustable trigger. So I'm going to take this thing out tomorrow and shoot it. Probably do a video on it. I have a lot of people asking me, and you guys probably get it all the time too, what gun should I have during a time like this? Well, what are you expecting? You know what I mean? What do you expect to happen? I would say in many cases, if you already carry every day, that's the gun. That's the one. You chose it to carry on a daily basis for a reason. Keep carrying the same one. Now, I will say this. With the uncertainty, not that I've seen anything, a couple of little robberies here and there, probably people that are been out of work for a short period of time, no money. Little ones have popped up, but nothing super duper major yet. So, but you don't know. You don't want to be caught with your pants down. So what I've done is I've prepared myself and kind of beefed up what I come and go with now. I have my normal bag, and I don't call mine a bug out bag. I wish I would have brought it up here to show you guys. It's in my office downstairs. I don't leave it in my truck. I take it in and out with me every day, night, morning and night when I come and go. But in that bag, I've got basic stuff. And I call it my get home bag. It's in case something happened and I needed it. The only new addition I've made to it recently is I have one of those N95 masks. Not the 95 that everybody's talking about now. The 95 is the kind of light blue mask that covers your face. It's more of a cloth. The 99 is like not a respirator. It's not, doesn't have the big cans on the sides of it, but it's got the small little round filters on the side. And usually guys that are doing Cerakoting and whatnot, that's the kind of mask that they're wearing. It actually it holds more pollutants than the 95 does. So I just happened to order these about a month and a half ago. I ordered 6 of them for my family, and to have a couple of spares. So I've got a couple of those in my truck in case my son is with me and anything were to happen where, I mean, you never know. What if somebody, I mean, this literally is the scenario that made me pack this in my bag. I keep a bag in there and I have a trauma kit in there in case either I'm at the range and somebody gets injured or if I run across a car accident. I'm no medic, but I mean, if I can help somebody, I want to help them whenever I can. And I've often thought when all this started going down is, what if I happen onto a scene of an accident where somebody was rushing someone to the hospital that had coronavirus? Well, if I'm stopping to help them, well, by God, I mean, I'm not the guy that's going to wear it into the grocery store or whatever, unless people are hacking. But at the same time, you know, I can see that scenario in your head where you've got a family member who is an older person, and now you're like, boom, you know, well, if you're rushing that person to the hospital because they have coronavirus, there's a very good chance that that person rushing them has it too. So I'm now dealing with a carload of people that I'm stopping to try to help on the side of the road who have this highly infectious disease. So that's why I packed those in my vehicle. So anyway, I've got that in there. I've got a Glock 17 in there with, I think, 3 different magazines. And there's a reason why I have a Glock 17 in there. I carry a Glock 19 on a regular basis. For those of you that are familiar with the Glocks will know that the Glock 19 is the mid-sized gun and the Glock 17 is a little bit longer. I've always had a habit of always trying to carry my backup magazines and something that's not my first go-to gun. Number one, I want to make sure that it uses the same ammo. Number 2, I'd really like it to be the same gun so that I don't have to reload magazines. I can just grab the additional magazine. And number 3, I want my spare magazine, if these happen to be 2 different guns, I want my spare magazine to be a longer magazine so that it'll fit. So if I was carrying, let's say, a Glock 26, well, I know that a Glock 19 is 9mm also, and a Glock 17 is also 9mm, that much bigger. Both of those magazines being longer will fit into my smaller Glock 26. Well, I usually on a regular basis carry a Glock 19 in most cases. That's what I've been carrying lately. So my backup gun is a Glock 17, the size bigger, knowing full well that even if I don't go to the Glock 17, I know that I have backup magazines in my bag to manage in my Glock 19 that I'm carrying on my side already. So essentially I've got 2 handguns, 2 almost of the identical handgun with me, with a total of 4 or 5 magazines, I'm not sure. I also have this is going to sound kind of weird, but I also have under my seat, I have a Kel-Tec, what is this, Sub 2000, I believe, the foldable one. That folds up to about like this. I've got one under my seat that also takes that same 9mm Glock magazine. So again, I've got somewhat of a long gun in that Sub 2000 that I can use if I need it. Now, with that being said, I also have an AR-15 that I take in and out of my vehicle every single day. None of these guns stay in my vehicle, by the way. When I get in the morning, I have I don't know if you've seen it, but the really cool Gray Man Tactical back on the back of my seat. That's got a Picatinny rail attachment. You just push the gun, and when you push using the rail, you push it hard, and the attachment grabs hold of the Picatinny rail, and then it holds the gun up, and it rides there. When you want to release the gun and pull it out, you push it back in, and then pull out, and then it releases it. So in the morning, I go in and I push my AR-15 in there. My bag also has 3 fully loaded AR-15 magazines with 5.56 in them. It also has that Glock 17 with the extra magazine. So I bring all this in the morning. It rides around with me during the day. And then in the evening when I come inside, I bring it all back inside. So, and I've got other things in there too, obviously, besides what I just explained. But from the questions that I get about what is the best gun, it's the gun that you're most familiar with. And look, don't worry about gun snobs. I try to stress this as much as I can. don't let anyone shame you into not carrying the gun that you can afford, that you have, or that you're comfortable with. That's the gun, the best gun for you. There is no best gun for anybody out there. I don't just carry Glocks. Sometimes I'll carry my HK for a while. Sometimes I'll carry a SIG P320 for a while. So there's so many things that that people are throwing at other people because they're snobs, and I get it. Why some people are so emotionally attached to their one gun, but at the same time, there's no reason to shame anybody else. I mean, different strokes for different folks. But I would say that just be prepared. I don't think that in a time like right now, you need to be running out rushing to buy a new gun that you got to familiarize yourself with in light of all this. Go spend your money on ammunition, maybe optics, maybe a better red dot or something like that. I personally don't think that it's going to come down to, some of the crazy stuff that people talk about happening in these types of weird scenarios, like fictional type scenarios. I don't think we're ever going to get anywhere near that. There's not going to be any people against the government with all of this. But at the same time, you still got a lot of stuff to protect. As I said earlier, as these things kind of heighten and as some of these people start to snap, that's the kind of person that is not thinking rationally at that point. And it's the irrational people that I fear the most. It's not the calculated person out there who is even a criminal. It's not the calculated criminal, because the calculated criminal in many cases knows not to mess with your home or mine. That's not really the person that I'm concerned with coming through my door. It's that uncalculated person and that irrational person that is not thinking right, that thinks that they have a chance of kicking my door in and taking something of mine or harming me and my family. That's the people that I worry about. And I think that's what we all should be worrying about. Lock doors. Lock your doors on your vehicle and your home. Hate to say it, but do it. A lot of people out walking these days. You see these neighborhoods, tons of people out walking around. Be careful though of these. If people start to try to ban the sale of guns, find somebody. In many states right now, private gun sales are still legal. Get what you need. I encourage people on that. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything that has popped up while we've been talking on the news. Of course, I always go to Ammo Land. Ammo Land has some of the best news and most up-to-date stuff. That's my go-to website for anything that I'm looking for. Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff in there, it's all basic stuff right now. I'm not seeing a ton of new news or anything like that. Ironically, guys, it's we don't know how this is going to change the climate of the gun community, but ironically, we've got all these people who have been voting for these anti-gun bills all these years that now are rushing out to buy guns, and they're perplexed because they didn't realize it's like, hey, I would like to buy some guns, and I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that gun show loophole so I can get mine quicker. I'm sorry, there's no such thing. That's not the way this works. If you're referring to a private sale, if you're a first-time gun buyer, I'm not sure I would sell you a gun privately. But especially if you've been the one voting in all these anti-gun bills all this time, or these anti-gun politicians. I think it's very ironic that we're seeing that. We're seeing this rush on guns right now from people who have always politically been driven against guns, and now we're seeing this. Speaking of driving, through some people that I know in the law enforcement community here in the South Louisiana area, this is something that applies to everyone across the country. Excuse me. Just because craziness is going on, just because you're seeing fewer people on the street in some cases, and in many cases, more people on the street. It's so weird. I'm seeing these massive peaks and valleys. Some days I'm seeing it's like Christmas shopping, the amount of people that are rushing out to buy stuff. And then other days, it's just limited people on the street. But nevertheless, it's not the time to ignore traffic signals. And the reason why I say that, of course, we're friends with law enforcement. Louisiana law enforcement is not like law enforcement in other parts of the country. Um, Down here, we have very strong Second Amendment supporters in most cases who are our law enforcement down here. Not all of them, just like not all people are Second Amendment people. Period. But we genuinely have Second Amendment supporters that live in Louisiana. If you live in the left coast or the east coast or up north, your situation may be a little bit different than ours, but our law enforcement is more on our side down here. They're our families. They're our brothers and our sisters, our cousins, our coworkers. So it's usually not as big of an issue. And I want to say that because I feel like they need a little bit of support because those are the guys that are still out on the streets right now. But my reason for bringing all this up is we still need to be cognizant of our driving laws, traffic laws. Just last night, which is crazy because the traffic was not as bad last night. About 6:30 p.m., an hour and a half after this stay-in order was in effect, not far down from here, a couple of miles down the road, there was a car, and I don't want to misspeak, but there was a car, a main road, and a car was pulled to turn onto that main road, and a motorcycle was hauling butt down the road, and I believe a law enforcement officer of some sort, he passed a law enforcement officer, and at that point the law enforcement officer turned around to, I guess, go get him. I'm assuming that's why he probably turned around. So the motorcycle driver, he nailed it. He took off, and this car that was waiting to pull out onto the main road, as the motorcycle was flying down the road this way, the car pulls out. And when you're judging speed, sometimes when a car is doing the speed limit, you think, or you probably know based on experience, that you've got time to get out before that car, that vehicle gets there. Motorcycles are even tougher because your judgment is different because you're just looking at this narrow motorcycle. Those of you that are motorcycle riders know exactly what I'm talking about. It's easier to judge that a car is getting closer to you because the car starts to widen as it gets closer to you, just from a vantage standpoint, where the motorcycle doesn't get much wider because it's already so narrow. So it's hard to gauge how fast a motorcycle is coming at you. Well, this person pulled out in front of this motorcycle, and again, I wasn't there, so I'm just making the assumption that she probably thought that she would be well clear of the motorcycle, and the motorcycle ran right into the side of her driver's side door, and the motorcycle rider died on impact. Was dead right then and there. That's probably a little bit different as far as disobeying laws, but because that's just a little bit different. But we've still got stop signs that people are rolling through. I see people rolling through stop signs. All these laws are still in effect, So I think it's important that we still realize that there's a certain level of safety. These laws out there, I don't agree with a whole lot of laws, and believe me, I've had my fair share of traffic tickets to definitely feel like, in many cases, a traffic ticket, you penalize somebody. There was a victimless crime when you give me a ticket, if you know what I mean. So I'm very anti about that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there are laws in place to keep people safe in many cases with traffic. And I just see a lot of people violating those laws right now, doing crazy stuff. Saw somebody driving on the median of the interstate the other day to pass up some construction workers. And I was like, are you kidding me? These guys were out there working, and this person was driving through the median to get around them. Almost hit 3 of these guys. So just be careful, man. I know that there's so much going on. I think our minds are full. There's so much on our minds right now that we're maybe being a little bit tunnel vision sometimes. Just be aware of all these normal things. We still have all the normal stuff that's happening around us that we still need to try to make sure that we do. Guys, I don't know what to tell y'all about, what's happening in your area. I can't wait to go back and look at your comments later on. But crazy stuff going on, man. I hope people will not overreact to the point that they become crazy, but just be careful to not be bringing this stuff back to your kids, your family, and endangering or older people in your family. But I did see something the other day that kind of made me laugh. somebody is sitting here talking about not wanting to give coronavirus to some people from that World War II era, because they're the most susceptible era as far as age goes. And I'm thinking to myself, those are the few people, those people from that great generation are the ones that are the toughest out of everybody. If there's anybody that can weather a storm, it's most likely those people. But the fact that this thing is attacking your lungs, that's where it is. I mean, you get an older person that has, some kind of chronic things with their lungs, or some weaker lungs and lung capacity and all that. And that's where you get into those kinds of issues. I don't know. All I can say is, guys, be safe. I wish I had my other shirt that I wore earlier today on. Of course, this is one of my shirts from Ballistic Inc. This is, I'm sure you guys know this symbol, but this is the Goodyear tire symbol that we took and made into good guys with a pistol instead of the wing foot right up here. But I wore a shirt today that's also one of my shirts, and it's pretty funny. If you'll remember the old school drawing, Join or Die, and it had the snake cut up into 13 pieces, and it said Join or Die. I had a good friend of mine in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, make a t-shirt for me that it had somebody washing their hands, and it had the same type of artwork as the Join or Die, and it said Wash or Die on it. So that's also available at ballisticinc.com. So if you get a chance, go over there and take a look at that one. You can get it in multiple colors. I am going to be, the shirt's already available. I just haven't launched the official campaign yet, but I'm going to be selling some of my shirts at Ballistic Inc. and donating all of the proceeds to autism here coming up in April. That's going to kind of change the dynamics of things if people aren't getting out as much. But I do have a pretty cool autism shirt at ballisticinc.com. It's titled, or the saying on it says, I protect those who can't. And then it's got a big hand with a small hand with autism puzzle pieces on it right below it, or in the hand, the big hand with the small hand in it. And then it's got my logo down at the bottom, Legally Armed America. For all of those shirts that are sold, I'm going to donate all of those proceeds to an autism center right here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So, the proceeds will go directly to it. I will literally write the check and hand deliver it, so I know where the money's going. It's not going to be embezzled. I'm not sending somebody on a vacation or something like that, because it will be sent to the actual autism center that my son goes to. So I'll know that those funds are going to a legitimate organization and that they're going to be used for a legitimate cause, because I will actually see the money being spent. So again, that shirt's already available out there. Again, it says, I protect those who can't. But I'll be putting videos out and whatnot in the coming weeks leading up to it, because April is Autism Awareness Month. And I believe April 2nd is the official Autism Awareness Day. So look for that to be coming up soon. If you don't know, guys, I have launched another YouTube channel. It's very much in its infancy. I only have 3 videos out there. It's called The Bacon Report. Again, it is called The Bacon Report. And all it is average, everyday guys like us and normal stuff that we do. Just so you know, some of the things that I've got out there that I'm going to be doing. I've already filmed one. One is changing the freaking fuse in a dryer, because I've had to change mine 9 or 10 times. I've got one little trick that my grandfather showed me where you blow a boiled egg out of its shell. Another one, actually a pretty relevant video that I put out there, was facts on washing hands versus hand sanitizer. I put that out there as well. Essentially what it is, it's non-gun videos. Because my gun videos, of course, here on YouTube are treated a whole lot differently. Unfairly, of course, by YouTube and Google. So because I don't just do gun stuff also, I figured I would launch that other channel, and it's been pretty fun. I got some really neat videos that are going to be coming up that I'm going to be putting out there. So if you get a chance, go to The Bacon Report. Just search on Google for The Bacon Report. I have The Bacon Report on Facebook and on Instagram also. You'll notice there's not a lot of posts, and on YouTube there's not a lot of videos, simply because it's a brand new channel. But you'll be seeing more of it. If you live in the Lake Charles, Louisiana area where my show is on Fox 29, you'll see bits and pieces of The Bacon Report, because I'll be putting some of the segments on there of The Bacon Report onto my show for Legally on America on Fox. But I mean, let's see, what are we? Yeah, we're after 11 o'clock. I'm keeping you guys over right now. If you guys, have any questions or concerns or whatever, send me emails. You can always email me at paul@legallyarmedamerica.com. I am going to try to do my Friday night live stream again this Friday night. There may be some conflicts with that, so I can't totally commit to that right now, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of things of doing that. We may have to do it a little bit later in the evening, kind of like this also. Those commitments in the evening sometimes are a little bit tough to get out of, to go break away and do this. But nevertheless, I intend on getting that back going again. So, guys, I always appreciate when you guys will take the time to come spend with me. It means a lot to me that you guys are willing to do that. It's an honor to me, as corny as that sounds. I know you've got better things that you could be doing than sitting here listening to me ramble on about various things. I have the curse of everything. I'm ADD, OCD, and you name it, I've got it. But I try to assimilate as much and try to put together sentences that mean a little bit without going off too much on tangents sometimes. But I apologize whenever I do, because sometimes I just can't help that. But there's so much going on right now in the world, guys. I just got to say, be safe. That's the biggest advice that I can give you guys, because I like whenever I can come on these live streams and recognize many of the same names over and over again. It's a good feeling to know that those same people, many of you guys, come back week after week. And again, that means a lot to me, that you guys are willing to do that, sacrifice your personal time to be able to spend it with me. Please take care of your families. Keep everybody safe. Let's be responsible with our firearms, but carry. There are times if I feel like it's necessary, I may even open carry. When I'm trying to send a message, if I'm in a situation, if people are getting crazy or whatever, so there may be sometimes you choose to open carry right now. Generally, I prefer to conceal carry in most cases. So, there's things like that might be going through your head right now. Make some good judgment calls in cases like that, but try to make the right call, because remember, we're trying to just get through another day and get home to our families. Ultimately, that's how I look at things. When I've got something going down, the thing that makes me make a better decision in my exact moment whenever things are going down is, what's the best thing I can do to where I get back home to my family? And that's, again, the best advice that I can give. I'm not trying to look like the coolest guy or the toughest guy. I'm trying to get back to my family as quickly and safely as I possibly can. And that's kind of what guides me in many cases. And that's the best advice I could give you guys, because we are in weird times. This is just some weird stuff going on. I'm about to go walk out my neighborhood right now, 11 o'clock at night, again, just because it's so weird. So, again, guys, thanks for hanging out with me for another night. Hopefully Friday night, I'll be live again. I'm hoping to shoot that precision tomorrow. And I got a few other guns that I may be banging some gun videos out too. So look for some new videos on my YouTube channel for Legally Armed America this week also, because I may have some new stuff coming out. God knows I got the time to do it. So guys, again, be safe. Please take care of your families. And I will see you all next time. And again, thank you very much from my bottom of my heart for hanging out with me one more time. And please take care and be safe, guys.